Welcome to the section C of core module 2. The title of our section is ICT for Women Entrepreneurship. And after going through the module and the materials you have, you would be able to appreciate the role of ICT in supporting women's entrepreneurship. So we start the section with some reflections. Let's first identify our list of expectations from ICT when it comes to entrepreneurship. So that's going to be very interesting and very critical. And then do you think, are there any specific ICT solutions that women entrepreneurs would be needing in your society, in your community? And then it's also very important to see whether our government, our society, look into ICT usage in a gender segregated way, gender responsive way, or in a gender indifferent way. So can we also look into the fact that whether our government and the regulators or the providers collect sex disaggregated data on ICT usage? That's going to be critical, because when it comes to cell phone usage, when it comes to internet usage, it's very important to see how men and women are using it and how differently they are using it. That would better help us to better understand, better comprehend the trends within a country, a community, a particular sector, and then it also helps us to better customize the solutions within. We would also like you to watch a video provided here, a link. It's from the Philippines. It's about the owners of a sari store, a neighborhood convenience store that are using ICT as part of their business strategy as a tool. And based on this, can we also reflect on what are the ICTs can do, or the ICTs can do for our businesses of a similar structure within our society? So that's going to be very critical. So let's do those things, and then let's first focus on the ICT as a supporting platform. That's going to be very critical. There are so many dimensions of ICT, how those can help in terms of women entrepreneurship. So first we look into ICT as a supporting platform. So when it comes to the access to finance, it's a very critical issue. Mobile banking has been a phenomenal success all over the world, and especially within Asia. What we have seen is in examples like M-Pesa in Kenya, where it started, or Bikash in Bangladesh, these kind of mobile banking actually cut the middleman. They ensured financial access for the marginalized population, a better effective way of ensuring financial access and access to credits and other stuff, and avoided the administrative delays, overhead costs, things like that. So these are definitely good examples of using it for entrepreneurship. Then we can overcome some of the examples that we have seen in our previous section about discrimination in opening up bank accounts, or the need for having male family members to be a co-signee to ensure some financial access. So those in many ways can be solved if we use mobile banking. The other interesting things when it comes to ICT as a supporting platform in relationship with access to finance is crowdfunding. That's a relatively new phenomena. For example, in Japan, crowdfunding has become a huge phenomena. Between 2014 and 15, as we have mentioned in our module, the total number of women trying to raise necessary money for their businesses have increased nearly 50%. So, and these initiatives are ranging from a small cafe to alternative energy solutions to the manufacturing of medical devices, things like that. So it's all over the place. And we are looking into access to finances using an interesting concept within the modern ICT platforms of funding and crowdsourcing. So there are several case studies of successful women and their entrepreneurship activities that we have documented in our module. One is related with, again, quick access to finance using mobile banking. This example is from Côte d'Ivoire, where we look into that this women entrepreneur in particular, Zodi Yao, had challenges in their own community in terms of lack of internet, lack of consistent electricity. So, and there are some regulatory challenges as well. And she overcame all these functional limitations using using ICT, localized ICT solutions through mobile banking. So that's something very encouraging to look into. I would strongly suggest you to have a close look into this and also go out to the internet to see how she is doing right now with her initiatives. Then when it talks to about ICT as a supporting platform, the other critical thing we can look into is better business communication. Mobile telephone has been a phenomenal success all across the world. And globally, there are more women mobile phone users than fixed internet users. And that's a game changer. When it comes to a particular tool that can give you that access to the information world, that can give you the access to connect with others, to create your own community, that something is truly empowering. That something can truly change the game, shift the paradigm when it comes to women entrepreneurship. That's for sure. So this mobile telephony and net connectivity, we have shown with different examples in our module that help to better develop women entrepreneurs' social capital, and also helps to develop the professional capability and skills using different net-based solutions, social media, business hotlines, different support structures, formal, informal, through YouTube, through Facebook or any other social network services. So that's something we have seen within our own communities across Asia Pacific. So that's definitely something worth looking into. And as a supporting platform is just beyond communication. ICT also helps women entrepreneurs to have better political participation, to raise their voice about different concerns, about different disconnections of the policies that we mentioned in our previous sections and subsections, that the women entrepreneurs can have their own platforms, identify the customized needs for their own communities, and then communicate that real time without any middleman to the policymakers, to the private industries, to the related stakeholders, international, national, in every ways they can do that. And also this ICT can help to have better e-governance, transparency within governance. We can monitor the loans, the funding that's available, and who are applying for these and who are eligible for these. We identified and talked about policy disconnections, right? Communication, challenges with the communication as one of the challenges that we have seen before. And those can be overcome in many ways if we use ICT. And if we can communicate through if the government started using the channels of mobile telephony or the communication platforms that the women entrepreneurs within a certain country can use, definitely we will see the better reachability of the message and the better effectiveness of the message and the policies that has been taken to ensure a better women entrepreneurship. And beyond that, supporting platform, ICT as an enterprise or different entrepreneurial initiative is a huge market. There are so many opportunities. Enterprises can involve production of hardware, development of software or applications, telecommunication products, things like that. So that's huge. And ICT services also is related to the businesses, software applications, e-learning platform. Those can also be developed. So ICT is not just as a tool to support, it's also a mean, it's also a sector where women entrepreneurs definitely can and should invest. And depending on the country, depending on the market size, depending on the customized need, those different applications and enterprises, the types can differ. For example, Grameen Bank's and Grameen Phone's Village Phone project has been a very successful model during that phase or that time of the society within Bangladesh, where tele-reachability was the key issue, and these women entrepreneurs were coming up with these village phones, and they became this village phone lady, and that ensured them to have some exclusive services, unique services that they could have provided during that time when telephone was actually a rare commodity within Bangladesh. Connectivity was a rare commodity within Bangladesh, so they were doing much better. And eventually, the market took over. Village phone lost the relevance that it used to have. But during that period of time, that village phone lady and this village phone project definitely had a huge impact to ensure a better entrepreneurship and better empowerment for women. So, and this program has been replicated in other parts of the world, for example, in Uganda, Rwanda, Indonesia, and has been very successful. So, again, we look into the customized solutions part of it, simple solutions part of it, using ICT, not just as a supporting platform, but also as an enterprise itself. So, let's now take a pause and see. We have done some reflective work before start of the section. Now, let's ask ourselves, are there any women-led managed ICT enterprises in our own communities? If yes, which are those? If not, let's also ask ourselves why we don't have any. And then let's also see what are the changes these women-led initiatives are bringing in our society. Are these positive? In which ways? Are there any challenges they are facing? And in which ways we actually can improve those initiatives? So these are important reflectory exercises that we need to do, because eventually that would help us to better identify and customize the solutions we need for our society. So when it comes to barriers in ICT for women entrepreneurship, there are several ones, in addition to the ones that we have seen before in relation to access to finances, in relation with the government policies. We have identified one of the key things is lack of education. Definitely, and education is just not the formal education, also education in terms of ICT, how we can use those things, the basic ICT knowledge that the society needs to provide, the schools need to provide. In many cases, we have seen the discrimination between men and women, girls and boys, within the schools where they have ICT classes. And it's a challenge across the world, and especially when it comes to Asia Pacific countries, when it comes to developing countries, this challenge becomes even more intense. And we have seen that this lack of proper education and discrimination within providing proper ICT education is something that really has to be solved if we really want to make sure that we want to have a better educated ICT workforce, men, women alike. Challenges with access. This is the other one. Now, there is, when it comes to ICT, of course, we have mentioned that the women increasingly are using mobile phone, mobile telephony, and internet, and that has some very positive impact in their daily lives, in becoming an entrepreneur. Saying this is where we need gender segregated data. That would help us to better understand how many women, how many girls are actually using cell phone or internet or computers, and in which ways they're using it. That would help us to better formulate our policies. to better customize and offer our commercial services, and also to better innovate the different entrepreneurial initiatives that we would like for our own society. And then the other things that we believe is a major barrier when it comes to ICT, the use of ICT for women entrepreneurship, is the design aspect of it, the disconnected applications. Because if a society or a market comes up with applications, a generic one, and hopes that that would be used or taken up and championed by men, women alike, then it's a big mistake. And we have seen, and we have also talked about it a bit in our module, we have seen these design biases and the absence of being inclusive when it comes to application design in all over all the sectors within ICT. So that has to be, when you talk about ICT solutions, those disconnections need to be taken care of, need to be addressed if we really want to have a sustainable solution. So different patterns of ICT usage, this is another thing. Because in many cases, what we have seen is that we assume that because men and women are sharing the same socio-political reality, socio-economic identity, they will use the ICT in a similar way. That's not true. We have seen that in many ways, gender-based inequalities have found to influence women's usage and participation patterns of ICT based different materials, different options, different activities. And to the extent that we have also shown, there are some studies that found that in many cases, women are actually reflecting on whatever way they are being treated or they are being communicated on in the real world, offline, that is also reflected in online. So it's not that if you do not facilitate in a coherent way, in a holistic way, you just provide them with some online tools, connectivity, and hope that magic will happen. That's never the case. We will see the same sort of discrimination, we will see the same sort of vulnerability, and even it gets worse for online presence for women in many cases. So we see that carryover effect from offline to online challenges as well. So those definitely needs to be addressed. And we would also suggest you to look into those issues in your own community. What are the things that's happening there? So the final one, when we talk about the barriers of ICT, related to ICT, is this online and offline vulnerability. We also mentioned this thing in C1 module, core module 1, that this online offline vulnerability is there. These social stigmas in many cases multiplied in the cyber world, and those are then used against women and saying that, oh, you should not use it because these ICT usage have made you more vulnerable. So those things really need to be identified and addressed. So right now, after seeing these challenges, let's reflect on our own. What are the challenges we are facing when it comes to use of ICT for entrepreneurship? Is it something that similar to the ones that we have mentioned right now in the module, or are there something new? If there is, what are those? And if let's also try to reflect on what can be the solutions to address those problems. So beyond the challenges, if we look into the enabling factor of ICT in entrepreneurship, a big part is beyond the technology. It's the human factor of it. Because the role of frontline workers to help women understand and build trust for new technology is critical. It's very critical when it comes to education. It's critical when it comes to service of different communication devices, or it's also very critical when it comes to the last mile solutions. Imagine the info ladies that we mentioned before, that human touch has to be there so that we can customize and adapt to the need for women in general or in particular within the societies where these ICTs are being applied for entrepreneurship. So that's very critical for us to look into. And then to ensure the safer space for ICT in terms of policy, because what we have seen is in many countries, even though the governments are providing a lot of incentive to facilitate ICT, to build ICT infrastructure, the policies are not there to protect, or the social understanding or the socio-political understanding is not there. The safety structures are not there to ensure a safer space or usage for women entrepreneurs or women users in general. So those definitely can be ensured if we look into what are the other countries are doing who have already adopted it. And some of the solution has to be our own. Some of the solution has to be our have to come within, need to be customized. And this is the safe space for ICT users is just not for the user itself. It also to help the women to be more versatile, to help them to innovate, to come up with better ideas. So ICT truly, in a true sense, need to be a safer space where women entrepreneurs can thrive, not just survive, and not just be a mere user. So that we need to ensure. So, and finally, if we look into it, it's kind of related is the enabling policy and regulatory environment. So that has to be there. We just don't talk about policies. We just don't talk about ICT integration without understanding the need of engendering it. That we have to have gender responsive ICT policies that helps women entrepreneurship and young aspiring women entrepreneurs in the future. For example, some local communities within India, they actually have had a diktat that women cannot use unless they are married. Young women are not allowed to use cell phone. So this is something unique. We are talking about a country which is a ICT powerhouse, a superpower within the modern economy of the world. And here there are some local community leaders who are saying that young women, if they're not married, cannot use mobile phones. And then the Supreme Court of that country actually came out strong and said that any kind of that kind of saying or diktats are illegal. So you cannot say those things. Women have the equal rights. The young women, if married or not, they should be able to have mobile phones and internet users and whatnot. So this is a very positive impact. This is a very positive example to look into, where the country, where the society, the legal system themselves need to actually take a stand against any kind of confusing or discriminatory usage or discriminatory policies against women, because only that way we can ensure a sustainable women entrepreneurship life cycle or an ecology for our society. And definitely the society itself, when it comes to ICT and entrepreneurship, has to be open to different ideas, innovations, and opportunities. And this is where women also need to be a part of that journey. ICT can definitely show future growth opportunities in outsourcing, freelancing, social outsourcing, the big data related activities, social informatics, and this is where definitely women need to be a part of it. And these are also the opportunities for women entrepreneurs for using ICT as a tool, ICT as an enterprise, ICT as a supporting base platform for making a lot of money, and also making sure the society is a better place. So Based on this, let's actually reflect finally. We had done several reflections in this section. So let's reflect on what are the emerging opportunities we have when it comes to ICT sector in our office, in our community, in our country. And are there women, young entrepreneurs? Are there young women freelancers who are working in these sections, in these opportunities, in these sectors? If not, how can we make sure that they can work? So that's something definitely we need to look into. And let's also try to have a wish list of designing apps for enabling women entrepreneurship. Let's actually come up with an ideal set of ecology, a set of a product structure, a set of applications. What are the issues we need to look into within education, revenue, commerce, science, technology? And let's actually have a wish list, and let's also try to have together in groups. We can have, if we are in groups, we can definitely identify some of the service types where the users are the women entrepreneurs. The users can definitely also be the government. Also let's identify the key features and definitely the issues of concern. So overall, let's go through a very quick design process, an application process of something that we can build for enabling women entrepreneurship within our own society. Let's do this, and let's also share our findings. That can be one of the key takeouts of this session. So in summary, if we want to do this, first of all, women entrepreneurs, definitely what we have established and what we have seen, women entrepreneurs can use ICT as an enabling work platform and also as a mean of business. That's very critical for us to understand. And what we have also seen is the absence of proper training, poor accessibility, and disconnected planning can hinder the synergy between entrepreneurship and ICT. That's very critical. And then finally, the inclusive process design, participatory policies, and new innovations can help women entrepreneurs to break barriers and be successful in their own business and life. And that's very important to be ensured in our society. So thank you so much. Please make sure to go through the slides and the links that we have provided, and that would make sure that we get the best out of this module of Wi-Fi.